All Hallows Eve, the evening your nightmares come to life, all the creatures of the night come out to play. It's time to pay tribute to this terrifying month, so join us as we celebrate the sinister season. This is the Venom Month of Horrors.
Hello and welcome to the Venom Month of Horrors. 31 days of pure terror, and today we're going to Elm Street, where you're not even safe in your dream.
That made me remember the dream I had last night.
A Nightmare on Elm Street follows Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, who looks an awful lot like my ex-girlfriend, so I really want her to die. A teenage girl whose friends start experiencing the exact same nightmares of a weird, scary fella in a stripy jumper and knives for hands, played by Robert Englund, who they later discovered to be called Freddy Krueger.
Fred Krueger, Mom. Fred Krueger.
No, it's Freddy. Okay, I don't care if your opening title says Fred, I don't care if the characters say Fred, the nursery rhyme says Freddy. Even he says Freddy!
Freddy.
It's Freddy. Side note, Heather Langenkamp's boyfriend at the time actually came up with the Freddy nursery rhyme. He used to be a child killer before the parents in the neighbourhood burned him alive. However, now he is back tormenting their children before murdering them in their dreams, in turn butchering them in reality, baffling police before a really weird ending which we'll get onto later.
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
Wes Craven got the idea for the film when he read some newspaper articles in the Los Angeles Times from the 1970s where some Southeast Asian refugees fled to the States to escape the Vietnam War and began suffering disturbing nightmares, thus refusing to sleep, before dying in their unconscious state not long after. Other inspirations were from Craven's own students at Clarkson University who parodied horror movies, actually filming on Elm Street in Potsdam, New York, as well as Craven once spotting an elderly man walking past the window of his home when he was a small child. The man glanced at him before walking away silently. The original concept was for Freddy to be a child molester, but he decided to change it to just a murderer as he didn't want to publicise child molestation cases that were present at the time of production. And then the remake happened and they said, nah, he's a paedophile now.
How do you believe me?
The name of the character was even based on Wes Craven's school bully, literally named Fred Krueger. The coloured jumper based on DC Comics' Plastic Man, and the specific colours of red and green were due to human retinas supposedly finding these to be the most clashing colours in existence. A lot of the killers at the time were wearing masks. Leatherface, Michael Myers, Jason. I wanted my villain to have a mask, but to be able to talk and taunt and threaten, so I thought of him being burned and scarred. I also felt like the killer should have something other than just a knife, that's too common. So I thought, how about a glove with steak knives? Craven also found that most people feared being scratched by animal claws. It wasn't until his cat unsheathed its claws that he got the idea of the infamous glove and began writing the screenplay in 1981 after finishing up Swamp Thing before pitching it to several studios that all rejected it. Weirdly, it was Walt Disney Productions who first showed interest but wanted him to tone down the content to make it suitable for children and preteens, which Wes refused to do. Freddy Krueger. Suitable for kids.
Some dream, judging from that.
Paramount Pictures then showed interest before passing on it, calling it too similar to Dreamscape, which they were then producing. Eventually, New Line agreed to distribute it and gave it the green light that Wes Craven, who was in deep financial and personal crisis at the time, desperately needed. However, some of the funding fell through, and for 2 weeks the cast and crew worked without being paid, but they were about to seriously cash out on it. This film literally saved the studio from complete bankruptcy. Originally, Craven wanted a stuntman to play the killer, but after trying out a few of them, he realised that he really needed an actor instead. There was speculation that David Warner was lined up to play Freddy before backing out due to scheduling conflicts, but many dispute this, including Warner himself in his own book. I couldn't find an actor to play Freddy Krueger with the sense of ferocity I was seeking. Everyone was too quiet, too compassionate towards children. And then Robert Englund auditioned. He wasn't as tall as I'd hoped and he had baby fat on his face, but he impressed me with his willingness to go to the dark places in his mind. Robert understood Freddy.
Because he was scary, that's why.
For the audition, Englund England actually darkened his eyelids with cigarette ash and slicked his hair back. I looked strange. I sat there and I just listened to Wes talk. He was tall and preppy and erudite. I posed a little like Klaus Kinski and that was the audition. To be honest, I only took the part because it was the only project that fit my schedule during the hiatus between the V miniseries and series. For the role of Nancy, Craven wanted someone very non-Hollywood, which Heather Langenkamp fit perfectly, but others considered were Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold and Jennifer Grey. Johnny Depp, who looks about 12 in this, didn't even audition to be in the film. He was unknown and actually a musician at the time, but his friend Jackie Earle Haley, side note, he'd go on to play Freddy in the remake. Small world.
I think that kid is some kind of lunatic or something.
And Demp went with him for support before landing himself the role of Glenn.
Glenn? What kind of name is that for a girl?
In fact, it was Wes Craven's daughters who selected Depp based on headshots of all the actors he showed them, calling him dreamy, while others considered were Charlie Sheen, who demanded more money.
Bear in mind, this was actually before Sheen was a big star. Douche.
John Cusack, Kiefer Sutherland, C. Thomas Howell, Brad Pitt, and even Nicolas Cage.
That would have been amazing.
Meanwhile,
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
That's all you have to do!
Originally, the budget was a small $700,000, but after more funding came through, it increased to around $1.1 million, and filming began in June of 1984 in Los Angeles, California, and wrapped up as early as July, before being rushed to completion for November. The ending was originally vastly different. So in the ending we all saw, Nancy brings Freddy back into the real world where she sets him on fire. He then attacks her mother, she knocks him out, and he then vanishes as her mum lowers into the bed of hell.
Trust us.
Before he returns, but Nancy then realises fear gives him power and is no longer afraid of him, which makes him vanish before all of her friends are alive again, but then the car gets taken over by Freddy and the film ends.
Never explained in any of the sequels, by the way, even when Nancy does come back.
That's enough.
Anyway, the original ending was to have Nancy defeat Freddy in the exact same way by not believing in him before waking up to realise that the entire movie was a nightmare. However, the studio wanted a twist ending, so both were shot and we got the dream within a dream within a dream crap which Craven hated, as he never wanted the film to be a continuing franchise and instantly dropped out of the sequel. A Nightmare on Elm Street premiered on November the 9th, 1984 and grossed a worldwide total of $25.5 million, receiving mixed reviews. A Nightmare on Elm Street is closer to a Stephen King adaptation with its small town setting and invented monster myth. The film finds Craven emerging from his recent career slump with a fine, perhaps definitive bogeyman to back him up. The movie is a superior example of an overworked genre. Unfortunately, about 200 pages worth of characterization has been compressed into cliché details like Boozy Renelle Blackley demonstrating her renewed self-respect by throwing away a half-full bottle. The nightmares in the film work against itself. While the kissing telephone and bottomless bathtub are disorienting in the David Cronenberg spirit, they get in the way of the relentless pursuing monster aspect that Carpenter manages so well. For such a low-budget movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street is extraordinarily polished. The script is consistently witty, the camera work is crisp and expressive. The genre may have built-in limitations, but Craven faces the challenge admirably. A Nightmare on Elm Street is halfway between an exploitation flick and classic surrealism. Freddy Krueger is also the most chilling figure in the genre since The Shape made his debut in Halloween. It's a highly imaginative horror film with great special effects, but the movie fails to tie up its thematic thread satisfyingly at the conclusion. The movie's worst scenes involve Nancy and her alcoholic mother. Author Ian Conrick praised the movie's ability to rupture the boundaries between the imaginary and the real. James Berardinelli praised it for toying with the audience's perceptions. The Independent Film and Television Alliance selected it as one of the 30 most significant independent films of the past 30 years. Bravo picked this scene as the 17th scariest movie moment ever and Freddy as the 40th greatest villain, and Empire ranked it as the 162nd greatest feature film in history.
And it's great. It is scary as hell. But it makes no sense.
You bastard.
It does have chilling moments. I mean, this is absolutely mortifying, and I firmly believe one of the scariest sequences ever put to film, and just the concept alone is really terrifying. It's scary for a masked killer to come after you with a knife, sure, but for a killer to prey on your basic human need of sleep so you have to fight to stay awake, that's horrifying. There's a scene when Nancy has a bad nightmare, but we don't even see it, just her reactions. That's really cleverly done and plays on your mind, much like most of the film. There's iconic shots where you really root for the heroes to take the bastard down. Despite my issues with some of the screenplay's logic, the characters are really likable and you really want to root for them.
I had a hard-on this morning when I woke up, Tina. Had your name written all over it.
There's 4 letters in my name, Rod. How could there be room on your joint for 4 letters?
There's great imagery for films like The Frighteners to completely rip off later, and it really does frighten you at points with the visuals that stick with you forever. But
It makes no sense. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Don't be such a smart guy.
Like, people slate the second one for making no sense, which it does, by the way. It's like the Terminator franchise. The first one makes no sense, and the sequels just make it worse and pile even more lack of logic on top. But it's true. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 is completely illogical, makes no sense, but unlike its sequels, this one is entertaining despite how little sense it makes. I mean, firstly, it's later revealed in the sequels that this was actually Freddy Krueger's house.
Why would people who killed Freddy then move into his house?
Okay, these are the fakest sex screams I have ever heard, and I watch a lot of porn. No one moans like this during sex. I even thought, oh, it's a prank to make the others feel uncomfortable, but nope, they really are having sex. Why does Nancy carry a crucifix to fend off Freddy?
Mike said, dude, why are you bringing all this crap? Freddy Krueger's not a vampire, put that stuff back.
This girl Tina hears a voice calling her and decides to follow it on her own in the middle of the night, half naked.
Watch this.
Why did he cut his finger? This was just goofy, like some kid trying to show off. I mean, people bitch that he's silly and goofy in the later sequels, but here he's doing things like this.
Hey, Nancy. No running in the hallway.
Yeah, he was so goofy and silly in the sequels. Here, he was serious.
Oh no, it's the guys from Halloween 3! I would not let them mess up this franchise as well.
What a brilliant tackle, and the fans go wild.
What the hell are you doing here?
Came to make up, no big deal. Your mom home?
Of course. Oh, what's that?
Intense, huh?
Why would he bring that? He didn't know about their dreams, so he wouldn't know that it would scare them. It's just forced foreshadowing. Why is Freddy stretching his arms? Not only is it completely pointless, but it's not scary. It looks more goofy than anything. So Freddy kills their friend Tina, and her boyfriend Rod is obviously framed, despite telling everyone that he's innocent. Now, Nancy knows Freddy is real at this point and knows the dreams are coming true, and yet she still disputes his story. It makes no sense.
What, Mother? Don't fall asleep in there. You could drown, you know.
Okay, I've fallen asleep in the bath several times and never once have I drowned. And surely you just get a little bit under the water and then that would wake you up. This whole myth is stupid. Or that happens.
Glenn? Are you still watching?
Yeah, so?
I'm just checking.
Wait, so she can talk in her dream and he can respond without waking her up and they can communicate, that she can sleep talk. But then how come that doesn't happen anywhere else in the entire movie? Several other times when they're sleeping and dreaming that they talk and scream and no one is able to communicate with them. This doesn't make any sense.
Wait, so Nancy is having the same dream as Rod? How is she seeing this? Wait, if she could just set her alarm, why is Johnny Depp even there watching her and keeping guard? Oh, and she was clearly holding Freddy here, so why wasn't he brought back into the real world with her? There's a part where Nancy has her nightmares monitored and somehow brings Freddy's hat into the real world, and her mom still doesn't believe her stories. There's literally no other way for her to have had this hat, and she still refuses to believe her. Booby traps. Seriously, you're going to trap one of the most iconic serial killers in horror history by going Kevin McAllister on him? Why the hell would you keep the knives of a child murderer, you weird woman?
Glenn?
Wait, Freddy calls her up? But she's awake! No, it's later revealed she's awake. So, what?
And then he calls back and his tongue comes out of the phone while she's awake. And when he kills Johnny Depp in the most famous scene, Nancy can see it somehow.
Also, this is the original cut of his death. Try not to laugh. I wonder why they changed it.
Break the door down in exactly 20 minutes. Time enough for me to fall asleep and find him.
She can fall asleep in 20 minutes. Lucky bitch.
Also, 20 minutes. Yet she goes to talk to her mum, strings up all these booby traps, and then goes to sleep all within 20 minutes.
I'm gonna say no.
What the hell did that, Lieutenant? I don't know.
What was the coroner got to say? He's in the jaw and puking since he saw it.
Since when do coroners visit the crime scene right away? Alright, now, why didn't that wake her up? I mean, earlier she puts her arm on a boiling hot pipe which scalds her for realsies and wakes her up, so how come jumping off of a balcony doesn't do it? When she brings him into reality, she doesn't spot him for a while, and is he just waiting, hiding under a bed like a sissy? And then Freddy just looks like a complete joke. Forget part 6, this has Freddy get hit by a cartoon hammer, fall over a balcony, and even down the stairs like a bitch.
It's too late, Krueger. I know the secret now. This is just a dream.
What was? The whole movie? The last third act? I mean, she's awake now and he just vanishes and... I mean, this speech is awesome and everything.
I want my mother and friend again.
What?
I take back every bit of energy I gave you. You're nothing.
But it just doesn't add up. What was a dream? Because she's awake. And then we get the bullshit car thing that makes even less sense. This is one of the most entertaining films that makes no sense whatsoever. It's just, unfortunately, one of those that tries to be intelligent when there's no logic. It's kind of like the Terminator. And I also have issues with the acting. Just let go of the fact that this is one of the greatest horrors ever. The acting is pretty bad.
Hey, up yours with a twirling lawnmower.
Hey, up yours with a worst acting award.
I'm gonna punch out your ugly lights, whoever you are.
This guy would go on to become one of the greatest actors in Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen.
Glenn was just leaving.
You see his face?
You see his face?
This would become the king of comebacks, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you definitely sound threatened. Damn, I'm screwed.
Please, God.
Even that sounds unconvincing. And as scary as this scene is... Acting! Seriously, here, he looks like he's about to laugh. Who's acting? I'll beat you! How? Nancy looks like she's on the verge of laughter as well. These are sick, sick people.
But I sure would like to know what the hell you were doing shacking up with 3 other kids in the middle of the night. Especially a lunatic delinquent like Lane.
Rod is not a lunatic, Dad.
And I am not an actress, Dad.
Maybe you don't think murder is serious.
How can you say I don't take her death seriously?
How can you say I don't take acting seriously?
That's why we were there, Mom. She just didn't want to sleep alone.
Yeah, guys, Heather's acting is total garbage. We all know it. Let's just fade to black and avoid any further embarrassment now.
The door was locked from your side.
Don't look at me like I'm some fucking fruitcake or something. I'm warning you.
Don't look at me like I'm some fucking actor or something. I'm warning you. FYI, the actor who played Rod suffered severe depression during filming and often snorted heroin in between scenes. For this one, he was actually off his head on drugs, but Heather just believed he was that good an actor and was blown away by his performance. Apparently heroin makes you a really good actor. I'm gonna go get some.
Did you have any weird dreams last night?
Yeah, I dreamt the director of Pee-wee was gonna dress me up in all sorts of gothic costumes.
Just go down and look at him. Please, Daddy.
Or I will act a convincing emotion. I will, Daddy.
They get all their art and literature from dreams. Just wake up and write it down. Dream skills.
What if they meet a monster in their dreams? Then what?
What if they made an actress in their dreams? Then what?
The bars. Security.
Security? Security from what?
Security from Razzies!
And if he gets me, I'm pretty sure you're next.
Why would anybody want to kill me?
They saw Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? Also, I love how he doesn't even question why anyone would want to kill Nancy. They want to kill you. Yeah, I understand. That's perfectly understandable. But why would they want to kill me?
I grab the guy in my dream. You see me struggling, so you wake me up. We both come out, you whack the fucker, and we got him.
Are you crazy? Hit him with what?
You're Oscar. Oh, wait. But at other times, it can be really good. This looks amazing, by the way. It makes no sense, but the entertainment value by far outweighs the lack of logic, and that's what movies are all about anyway. Also, we might as well get these out of the way too.
Absolutely dreadful, absolutely amazing and the best one. Forgettable, abomination, geniusly written, it's alright. Completely pointless scene for scene redo, but it was okay. A sequel was actually planned for this, but it basically fell through for unknown reasons. On August the 7th, 2015, New Line announced that they were actually producing another remake with the writer of Orphan, Robert Englund, even expressing interest in returning for a cameo role, but nothing has been said since. Regardless, it may be silly and nonsensical, but it's scary, it has likeable characters, it tells a decent story, and I'd recommend A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more, I'm reviewing every film in the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die 2016 edition book, so make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with them and also turn on notifications to be alerted for each episode. You can vote for which film to be reviewed next to the link in the description. What do you think of A Nightmare on Elm Street? Let me know about it in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.
I was actually going to review Nightmare Part 2, but then I thought I'd be repeating myself because that makes no sense, but yet this one makes no sense.